Hey there, Posture guys and gals. Justin Archer here, aka the Posture Guy, your #1 source on pain, posture, and performance. And I'm very excited because today we're going to be talking about how to go about properly eating to support pain relief as well as to optimize health and performance. But before we do, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to all of you who donated towards the purchase and research and production of video tutorials of the Spunk mat. It's purchased and I'm picking it up on Saturday. It's being shipped across the border, so I gotta go pick it up. But we'll have it Saturday, and then probably within 1 to 2 weeks after both Anya and I can thoroughly test it out, I'm gonna get back to you and let you know, how it's been working for us, how we've been using it, and like I said, I'm very optimistic from what research I've done and the people I've talked to at the company that it will be beneficial. I just want to see how much and maybe how to integrate it with some of the exercises and positions that I suggest here. So I'll definitely keep you guys up to date on that. And for those of you, like I said, who donated, thank you once again. I know I sent you all a separate reply and little video with something special for you, special offer in there. So hopefully you'll take me up on that. But anyways, thank you once again. I know I can't say it enough, but one more. Thank you. Now, moving back to what we were talking about, which is diet, and how it can support, or actually how it could hurt your progress towards a, pain-free and active life, which I know is pretty much why everybody is here watching this. Well, this is something that over the last, I'd say 8 to 10 months, my wife and I have been experimenting with, and several of my clients who they're kind of, say, posture guy, posture gal, guinea pigs, if you will, for lack of a better term, have been experimenting with. And I've done a lot of research and looked into, who are the best in their field about this, because I know enough about nutrition and diet, just enough to be dangerous. I mean, I understand it. I used to do amateur bodybuilding back when I was a teenager and up to about 20. So I know how certain things work in the body, but obviously, I know you guys aren't, and I'm not, or I don't think you are trying to be bodybuilders. It's more so, how do we eat to have a long, healthy quality of life as well as to get out of pain? Well, the problem is that I found that both my wife and I's diet and a lot of other people's diet, they're eating things that are actually keeping them in a systemically otherwise known as chronically inflamed condition. Now understand, this is biochemically inflamed. So you may have something structurally off posture-wise. Let's say you have one shoulder higher than the other, or you're kind of offset, you're leaning like this, your knees and feet turn out. So that could be structurally why you have back pain, knee pain, hip pain, thoracic outlet syndrome, carpal tunnel syndrome, all these things, right? But then if you're eating foods that are causing this type of inflammation, you're basically pouring inflammation on top of other inflammation. So you're pouring pain on top of pain and just making things worse, which I know you don't want to do. If anything, you want to eat foods that are going to help relieve that inflammation and make you feel better, right? Well, unfortunately, there's foods that a lot of us throughout life have been told that, these are healthy things. These are what healthy people eat, and you should eat them if you want to be healthy. Well, it turns out, and what those people weren't lying to you. They were simply looking at from one factor, one aspect, which is macronutrients. It was one of the things that we can measure earliest on in terms of history and science. And so a lot of people focus on that. They focus on calories and grams of protein and fats and carbs. And it's not to say that those things aren't important, but again, it's only looking through one lens. We have to look also at, well, how is wheat today compared to wheat in, like, say, the 1940s or tens of thousands or 50,000 or 100,000 years ago? Heck, how is even the wheat here in America? Okay, technically I'm in Canada right now, but how is the wheat in America different than the wheat in Italy? And I've tried both, and they both have a significant different impact on me, and I know they do on other people as well. So you have to look at, how are foods processed nowadays, and what anti-nutrients and toxins are in them. And it's these things that are causing these intolerances or sensitivities. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about allergies, not the type where, like, if somebody is severely allergic to peanuts and they have just a little bit of peanut, then their throat swells up, they can't breathe, and you have to rush them to the emergency hospital. That's something different. Granted, that's bad too. You don't want that. But I'm talking about foods that cause, like I said, this low-grade systemic inflammation. But these symptoms or this inflammation can lead to symptoms such as, I got a whole list here, so excuse me if I read off a little bit, but joint and muscle pain, arthritis, bursitis, tendonitis, headaches, migraines, bloating, gas, fatigue and brain fog, autoimmune diseases like fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, digestive problems, various forms of cancer, rashes, hives, mood disorders, temporary depression, insomnia, eczema, fatigue, hyperactivity, night sweat, sinus problems, and the list goes on and on. A lot of fun stuff, right? Well, again, there's foods that, I'll probably read off some of these and you'll go, oh, well, I know that and I don't eat that. Awesome, you're already on to a good head start. But there's foods that, even I was like, are you serious? I've been eating this like almost every day thinking it's healthy for me, when in fact, it could be causing some of the inflammation that I'm having, which could be causing joint pain. It could be causing you to retain water. So if you've been trying to lose, or retaining fat. So if you've been trying to lose weight, maybe you lost 5 or 10 pounds, but you still got another 5 or 10 you want to lose, and you just, no matter how little you eat or how much you work out, you just can't lose those last 5-10 pounds. Chances are it's probably due to a food intolerance / sensitivity. So, I wanted to share with you, how to identify these foods, how to test for them, and then some other information, some other resources you can look into. The best of which I linked to below, which is JJ Virgin's book called The Virgin Diet. And I actually been reading her book thoroughly. I actually almost reread half of it just last night in preparation for this video post. But she has some really good stuff. Go check out her blog. Buy the book. The link down below, just so you know, full disclosure, it's an Amazon link. I get a small commission, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. I basically just get, I don't know if it's per book, a few cents or dollar for sending you that way. But it doesn't cost you anything extra. But great book. Go check it out. All right. So the 7 foods that you want to avoid that are most likely causing these, like I said, inflammatory responses, these food intolerances, are gluten, which is found in most wheat and grains and breads and pastas and things like that. So you want to avoid gluten. Soy, a lot of the soy protein and a lot in the soy sauce and things like that. Dairy, don't really need any explaining. We all know what dairy is. Eggs. Yeah, that one's hard for me. Still working on. Corn, peanut. Well, corn's in everything. I mean, everything processed, I should say. Not everything, but everything processed. Corn and soy seem to sneak into almost every processed food item. Peanuts. Gave that one up a few months ago. I love me some peanut butter, but I can tell you once I dropped it, some water weight came off. I was much more defined. I felt better. I could think clearer. So yeah, definitely drop the peanuts. And then sugars and artificial sweeteners. So those 7, are ones that I know both from reading JJ Virgin's book, from reading other people's research and kind of do my own research, are the ones that are the likely culprits to be causing these food intolerances, or the foods that people are intolerant to some degree. Now, I'm not saying that you can never eat these foods ever again in your life. What I'm suggesting, and what JJ suggests in her book, is to basically get rid of these foods in your diet or eliminate, for a better term, eliminate these foods for 3 weeks, all right? So go cold turkey, not just a little bit of chocolate or just 1 egg, a month or something like that. Just for 3 weeks, get rid of all of them, okay? See how you feel, because even if you're eating 1 or more of these foods and you say, oh, I feel fine, the problem is you might have had that food in your diet for so long, and the inflammatory response was so little, but it's accumulative and it builds up and up and up and leads to not only inflammatory responses, but like leaky gut syndrome. It can mess with your adrenal and hormones and everything like that. You may have now a different term for I feel fine or good. You may take these foods out and realize, oh my gosh, now I'm gonna I'm gonna switch my definition of the word fine and good, because I can tell you, I felt good and fine when I was eating peanut butter. But when I took it out, now I'm like, I'm gonna have to rethink this term fine or good now that peanuts are out of there. Or years ago, I haven't had gluten, or at least on purpose, I haven't had gluten for years. Same thing for dairy, with the exception of the grass-fed butter in the bulletproof coffee that I made earlier this week. So once as I take more of these foods out, I feel myself, just perform better, feel better physically, mentally. So again, even if you don't feel sick or in pain or any of these symptoms that I might have listed earlier, I suggest try taking them out for 3 weeks. And then what you can do is, after that 3rd week, is try introducing them one at a time in, and just with a food journal, you can test to see what your reaction is. Now, there's some that you probably shouldn't bring back in, or you should keep out of your diet 95% of the time. And so those are corn, peanuts, and sugar and artificial sweeteners. The other ones, the gluten, the soy, the eggs, and the dairy, go ahead and try to reintroduce them back into your diet. Again, one at a time, not all at once, and just a little bit. And after 3 weeks of not having any of those 7 foods, and then see how you do. Are you better, same, worse? And then you can tell how often you can have those foods. Now, that's probably the simplest and cheapest and easiest way to do it, right? Is just an elimination diet, and then bring one food in at a time and see how your body tolerates it. Now, another thing that I've been experimenting with is something called heart rate variability testing. And I've been using this app called Food Sense from Bulletproof exec, Dave Asprey, right? Awesome biohacker guy. If you haven't heard me talk about him before, I did so in the anti-inflammatory diet video post. I'll link to that below, as well as that's where I got the recipe for the bulletproof coffee, the post that I did earlier this week on Tuesday. But basically what this app does, let me open mine here. There we go. So what it does is it helps you sense for any negative reactions or any sensitivities to food. So for example, this morning, I click here, I had my bulletproof coffee, and so what you do is you take your heart rate in the morning when you wake up. And here's the cool thing, you can either do it manually, you can do it with a heart rate monitor, which I'll get to in just a little bit, or even if you don't, and this is a free app, okay? I'm gonna link to them, it's free. You can actually use the camera lens on the back of an iPhone, right? And you put your finger over there, and it'll take your pulse that way, or your heart rate. And basically what it does is it shines the light through the finger, and the lens will actually look for the little capillary in your finger, and as your blood pumps through it, right, it's gonna enlarge, it's gonna expand and contract. And it basically times those, how long, how many of those happen in a minute. So it takes a minute, you hold here, and then it'll tell you what's your resting heart rate. And it uses an algorithm or an equation, if you will. I believe it's called the COCA test. COCA test, named after Dr. Coca. And basically what it's testing for is throughout the day when you have a meal, you do the test, right? You see what your heart rate is before the meal, and then 30, 60, and 90-minute increments afterwards. And if your heart rate goes up more than 16 beats per minute, more than your waking heart rate, so you wake up and you do it in the morning, then it's not a guarantee, but it's more likely that you have some sensitivity or intolerance to whatever was in that meal that you just ate. So it's kind of a neat way to get instant feedback. Now, this is kind of a cool technology. From doing it for especially like the past week or a little bit more, I can tell you it gets a little fast, sitting and doing this, and you have to hold your finger at just the right position and everything. So, if you have a Bluetooth enabled heart rate monitor it'll usually sync and work with this. I actually just bought one, which also I'm picking up Saturday, that I'm going to be using, and it's just easier because then you can just wear it throughout the day, and you can use the heart rate monitor, and it'll just take from here. You don't have to put your finger over this, you don't have to hold, you can just kind of sit down, wait a minute, and then go about your day. So that's a really kind of nifty app, and you can get, like I said, I'll link to this down below. There's one called Food Sense, and there's one called Sweet Beat by a company named Sweetwater. They are essentially, from what I can tell, the same exact app. Dave Asprey just, I think, partnered with Sweetwater to make his Food Sense app. So yeah, and then if you see a paid version, that's for HRV training, which I guess I can talk about a little bit right now. I don't want to get too much into because that's a whole nother post. But that's a way that with the aid of a heart rate monitor, you can actually test your heart rate variability, and that is basically the time in between the beats. So a lot of people think like, if you have 60 beats per minute, your heart rate is beating once every second. Well, actually, the healthier heartbeats will fluctuate, so it'll be like 0.8 seconds, and then 1.1, 0.75, 1.25, something like that. And it'll test your heart rate variability throughout the day. And the reason you want that fluctuation is it's your body's ability to deal with stress. And so you can wear the heart rate, and you can go throughout the day and notice when certain things stress you out. Because think about it, a lot of us nowadays are in chronic stress, right? And it's kind of that fight or flight response, and that's fine temporarily, whether we're working out or we're running sprints or back in caveman days or running away from a mountain lion. The problem is a lot of us get it stuck there, and so we're overproducing stress hormones, mainly cortisol, and that leads to all sorts of problems, from weight gain and trouble losing fat to more inflammation and things like that. So there's actually a way with HRV training, and I'll talk about this more in another post, but you can actually train yourself to your coherence to actually be in a calmer, more relaxed state. And I think that is just awesome, because stress is one of the things that leads to pain. A lot of times I've had clients who they're doing phenomenal, and then there were 4 or 5 weeks into the program, and then they take a turn for the worse, or not the worst, but they just kind of, let's say, backtrack a little bit and come to find out, well, what's going on, and the family dog died, or somebody in their family passed away, or they got into a car accident, not where they were physically hurt, but they were stressed because of maybe the obviously the financial stuff that goes with getting into a car accident and working with insurance companies, and all those things are all very stressful. But imagine, and there is a way, I'm going to be sharing this with you in the near future, what if there's a way that you can actually train yourself to go into a state where you can stop being, scared or nervous or anxious or mad, And this is very, very possible. It's called biofeedback, or heart rate variability testing, or heart rate variable training. If you Google any of those words, you can look into it. And not too long ago, I think it was viewed as kind of this, like, again, this woo-woo kind of thing, but there's tons of science to back it up, and it basically deals with the connection, and I forget exactly which nerve, I think it starts with an A, that basically connects the brain to the heart and vice versa. And so you can actually control your emotions with your central nervous system to your heart, and your heart to your central nervous system. It's really cool, fascinating stuff. I know I'm even getting more into that, but back into the diet, the food intolerance, foods that you want to avoid and such. So you can use an elimination diet. You can use this food sensitivity app, which I'll link to in the post below. And then if you really wanted to geek out on this, which definitely I do, is you can actually take a food sensitivity or intolerance test. Now, there's a couple of them out there. The one that I've heard the best about, and actually I talked to somebody from the company just the other day, is called the LEAP MRT test, and I believe it's by Oxford or Oxnard Laboratories. But just type in LEAP MRT food intolerance test in Google, and you'll find it. The cool thing is they will send you a kit, or you can go to a doctor, get your blood drawn, and they send you a kit, and then you send it off overnight because they have to make sure to get it within 24 hours. And then they test your blood against, I want to say it's like 150 something or 120 something different foods. And there may be some stuff that you find like, oh my gosh, like I'm sensitive to sweet potatoes. Everybody says sweet potatoes are so healthy and everything. And dear God, I hope when I do that test that I'm not sensitive to sweet potatoes because they're freaking delicious, and I would hate not to be able to eat them, or not be able to, but I wouldn't want to take away from my optimal level of health and performance. But so you can do that test. Obviously, you have to get blood drawn. There's the whole sending the kit, which actually they pay for shipping, but still it costs, depending on where you get it done. I've heard the cheapest $350 to $500. Actually, no, I heard someone say $850, but that was for a different test, not Leap MRT. I was quoted at, I believe it's $495, I believe. So it's a bit pricey, but I think it's a good investment in your health, because what if all throughout your life you're eating foods that you think are good for you, when in fact you're intolerant to them, and they're causing, things like inflammation throughout your body and your brain. They're causing leaky gut syndrome. They're causing, adrenal and hormone problems. So, $500, heck, that's better spent on living longer and living a better quality of life than, you probably spend that on a TV or something. Probably some people spend that just on, probably not as high quality food in a month. So in retrospect, when you look at it, it's not that much. So anyways, those are the ways that you can test for these food intolerances. Again, if you want to learn more about this, that's kind of just outside of the scope of this one little video post, definitely check out JJ Virgin's The Virgin Diet, which again I'll link to down below. Again, it kind of looks more of a diet book to lose weight, which is great if you do want to lose weight. If you don't though, if you're like, no, I'm happy with the weight that I'm at, still it's a very good read, because again, I'm not looking to lose weight, but as I've eliminated some of these foods, my body composition has changed. I've noticed in the mirror, just today getting in the shower, like, oh man, my abs are basically getting more defined, and I'm not doing anything. I haven't even freaking worked out, really, with the exception of doing posture exercises for more than, I think it's been 3 months since I've really worked out. And it's just been by taking some of these foods out and adding in some better quality foods that has really made a difference, not only in how I look, but ultimately how I feel. And the reason I wanted to take the time and tell you about this is because I would hate for you to be putting so much time and energy into doing exercise to improve your posture and get out of pain, when you might be eating some of these foods that I mentioned here that are causing you to stay in a chronically inflamed condition. So you may be taking 1 or 2 steps forward with the exercises, but maybe the benefit that you feel from them are short-lived. People tell me like, oh, it's only for a few hours or anything. Well, yeah, maybe because you had 2 or 3 meals full of gluten and soy and corn and these other things, which was just pouring inflammation on top of that, or they made you tired or fatigued. So the muscles that held you in that better postural position, they fatigued, and you went back to slouching like this, and now you hurt again. So, I think it's important that we take a holistic approach. And these are things that I'm going to be looking more and more into. Again, I want to thank everybody for who contributed towards the Spunk mat. I'm going to put one down below that I'm raising money for, which is the heart rate monitor, which I already have coming in the mail. But if any of this stuff has helped you, if you contribute towards the heart rate monitor, as well as the app. The app's only $5. I mean, if you can contribute towards those, I'm definitely testing this stuff out. The food, the Spunk mat, all those every day. I mean, this is basically, I always tell people, like, this is what I do when you're at work, so I can report back to you what works. And then, my wife's nice enough, she is kind of a guinea pig, and then so are my other clients. And I got some other friends and family elsewhere in the States testing some of this stuff out. and then they always report back to me throughout the week. So that way I can share it with you guys. All right. So anything that you can contribute, it's $1, $100, doesn't matter. It'd be greatly appreciated, and it would help towards making the content here that much better quality, so I can continue to expand my knowledge and share it with you. All right. Anyways, thank you for joining me. I know this one was a little lengthy, so was the other one, but as you can tell, I'm just really passionate about this and sharing it with you guys, and hopefully, it can better improve your life, both in quality and longevity. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you inside the next video. Until then, take care and keep moving.